Hello, everyone. This is another episode of The Boring Show with your favorite hosts, Emily and me.
Favorite.
And today we're going to talk about the good old Hacker News app that some of you might remember from way earlier. We decided to revisit it because
There was some cleanup that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And people had a couple questions
That's
about
true.
things that we wanted to
Yeah.
even out the rough edges.
And also, we have some plans for it, which we'll keep secret for now. So, Emily, you looked at it and it was broken?
So I synced the repo and tried to run Flutter run and didn't build. And the reason is because Dart 2 has come out. And basically a lot of our dependencies, package dependencies in our pubspec were going to allowed you to go up to everything but the next major version number. That's if you have that little caret thing, maybe you can pull up the pubspec. But yeah, so that caret syntax means everything up to the next major version number.
So not 7.
Right. And because with Dart 2 coming out, a bunch of things bumped their major version number. And since we were running Dart 2 locally, everything was like, I can't solve these constraints. So I had to tweak the constraints on a couple different things.
Right.
And mainly it consisted of looking at what the latest package number was in pub. If you want to not deal with all of that, another way to do it is just to use the greater than or equals to and then those numbers. And that will always take anything larger, including the next version number.
Right. So basically this, and then we realized that build runner has to be...
Yes, so I made a, that actually just updated and that required a slight tweak in build runner's pubspec, so I sent them a pull request and they actually just updated it. So I haven't, right now it's pointing to my forked version of the repository.
Which is a good point to make, is if you're depending on someone or something and you like the pub version is not the most current version, for example, or you're tweaking it a little bit just to make sure, you don't need to just use the version number. If you just use the version number, it will just go to pub.dartlang.org and get the version there. But you can also say, you know what, I want this from Git from this particular URL. You can even say the commit hash, I think, and you can even use path. So
Yep.
You can just clone it to yourself. You can do whatever you want with the library or with the package, and then point to it with a path instead of Git or anything like that.
Yeah, you can point to a local path on your machine.
Right.
Which is actually what I did before I committed this, and I was like, Philip needs to use it. He doesn't have access to my local machine.
Right.
Actually, do you want to edit out or change one of the numbers back to what it was, and just so they can see what the error message is? Pub will tell you what the particular packages are that it's having problems with.
This was dev dependency 0.8.0. That's
Sure.
the thing that okay. Build
Instead of 1.0, yeah.
0.8.0 and now pubget. Oh, look. The current Dart SDK version 2.1, because...
This is actually a little bit of a complicated one, but the error is it's saying that build runner up to the next major version number 1.0 requires the Dart SDK to be less than Dart 2.0. And because we're running Dart 2.0, we can't run that version of build runner. Therefore, we have to update our build runner version.
So we do that again, and then this should be back to normal.
And it's great.
Yes. All right, everything works like last time. So if you haven't seen our previous Flutter Boring Show with the Hacker News app,
you have lots of exciting footage to catch up on.
Yes. But this is kind of spoiler alert. This is the app that we get to, and it's it works. I think it's almost ready to publish on Play Store. So all right, let's. That's the dependency in another spoiler. So that's the dependency problem, and then we wanted to just check
warnings.
Couple of warnings, yes. So we have some warnings in the code that we just left there because we're lazy. And now
I thought they
gonna...
were because they didn't show up with Dart.
Oh no
Dart
no
2.
no no! We were just lazy.
There.
Yes.
Okay.
So first of them is this class inherits a class marked immutable. So basically, what it is saying that, you know what, your loading info class is extending stateful widget, and that needs to be immutable. The widget itself is immutable. Then the state obviously is not, but the widget itself is immutable. And yet you have a stream that can be reassigned.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So we just do this. Ugh, no final. And that disappears, right? So if you have a thing that is, and by the way, I wanted to show you, this is how you would say, I want my class to be immutable, and then everything inside the class must be either const or final. You are not allowed to have reassignable things in there. So that's fixed. Next one, we have a stream controller here, and it says actually you should close all instances of Dart core sync, which is very helpful because that's sometimes people will forget. And even though in our case, because this is our BLoC, and our BLoC lives for the whole duration of the app, so we don't really care, but it's obviously better practice to close things in general. So what we can do is just like add a close method and close the stream here, and then just like make sure that we anytime we get rid of the BLoC, which we don't right now, we will just do BLoC.close.
So is Hacker News? Oh, it's not a. I was gonna say if it's a stateful widget, then you can do it on destroy.
Yeah. No, but this is just a class. Yeah. So I also just sorted everything.
So in theory, you could call that close method when the last widget, the widget that is using the BLoC, is done.
That's true, but that's basically that would be the app widget, right? And then the app widget main is stateless, and stateless don't have dispose. So and we really want this to be on for the whole duration of the app. If this was like a BLoC for something that we create, like a page, and then we don't need it anymore, then yes, we have our dispose method, and in our dispose method we would just be calling close of everything that we need to close, right? So that's one, and the third one is here. Which just says this function has a return type of feature of article, but doesn't end with a return statement. It does end with a return statement if everything is great, but if there's something happening, then it just
if we get a bad
right. So
result.
we can do either like returning a dummy article or something that kind of tells us somewhere else that this has gone wrong. But again, we're lazy, so we'll just throw what kind of errors?
Is there like a
Network error, right? No.
State
error? I just default to state error.
You just do error.
Just error? Wow.
Okay, let's not do that. Yeah.
Well, okay. You know what?
State error.
Nah. Class.
Oh.
Yes. Class. Hacker News.
Wow.
API error.
I was just gonna do like, what about HTTP error or something like that?
Yeah, but it's not really that, right? Like,
that
the underlying one.
That's what caused the problem. Is because we didn't get the right result we expected,
right,
so we can't find it.
Right, but is it there?
There's I'll search.
Right. Okay. I'll do my thing. So Hacker News. So we could do like final string message and Hacker News API error is with this message and that's it. So we can actually, now that we made our own error, so article ID couldn't be fetched.
Yeah.
Now we can actually, try to catch that exact error, and it will, so wherever we're actually using this, we could do try catch and so on, but we're lazy. So okay, we don't have any more warnings, which is great. We could use a pre-existing error, but this is easy. So all right.
Fair enough.
All right, so everything works. We had a question. What if you have, this is about BLoC. So this is the architecture that we're using this for this particular app. That's basically having a component that has only streams as inputs and streams as outputs and sinks as inputs. And for this, the question was, what if I have 2 different blocks or 3 different blocks? How do they communicate to each other? And so there's no single perfect answer to any architectural question, by the way. But what I've seen so far is, and what Google uses internally, is that you're trying to not pass one block to another as a dependency, but instead you're using the streams as inputs and the sinks, sinks as inputs and streams as outputs, and just put them together.
Consumer
Yes,
thing.
yes. You're just kind of piping the blocks together, right? Which sometimes that means that you will have to add new either outputs or inputs just in order to put these in sync. But it's way it's way easier than to just put something out, maybe even pull the block away and not use it and so on.
So are you suggesting adding to the API of the block specifically?
Yes,
So
if you need that.
yeah.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just that other block is just listening to some of the outputs that I already have. And it shouldn't be, again, if it looks too complicated and too over-engineered, it probably is. So make it simple and make it just for your app. We're actually kind of
More than needed. for this.
we're doing something that's a little too over-engineered
yeah.
for something simple as this. Okay, so that's the question. And then we just realized that this is a really good Hacker News reader, but it always reads just a set.
5 articles.
Yes, 5 articles. Because we're actually, I don't know exactly why we did this, probably just because we're lazy again, but we just added these and hard-coded these into the app. So what we want to do is actually get them through our amazing method that is called parse_stop_stories, and then use them to get the latest articles. So
Why is the JSON string hard-coded there? Oh, this is a test?
yeah, this is just a test.
okay.
I just wanted to, yes. So, all right. So let me see the top IDs. Where do we use them? Here, get articles and update. Oh, that's because, okay.
Yeah, we put it into the article
Right.
stream.
Right.
Article
So
subject.
okay, so we need get IDs. That would be a future of a list of ints, right? So future of a list of
Yes.
integers. Get IDs, and then we should tell if it's a top stories or new stories, I think. Yeah. So it should be stories type. So we should give it a stories type. Type. And this is an async method because we'll be calling the API. For now, we're just gonna cop out and do this.
Oh, well, so I just looked up the Hacker News API, and it looks like it's just this URL here. So
Right. Yes,
So you
I'll
just
need this
call-
in a minute.
okay.
I just want to make sure that so we could do that, and now how do we use this? So we want get IDs of story type top, right? And that's a list of IDs. Oh, and we
type.
need to await it.
Oh no, but you're in a constructor.
Oh, okay.
Bleh. So you will probably want to write a helper function that is
yes.
asynchronous. Now, do we need this get articles and update to be completed before this happens? This
No.
Okay.
It's just the first.
Okay.
Yeah. So future void, which is also something that we didn't have before. We have future void now, like a
As of
void
Dart
as a type.
2.0, yeah.
So okay. Initialize
Articles.
Okay. And that's it. It's just async. Right? Because we want to do this, right? Okay. And now we can call it from here.
Yep.
So just so that we're not losing anyone, what we did is we realized, okay, we want to use async or await in a constructor, and constructors cannot be asynchronous; they need to be synchronous. So we could do the get IDs dot then and do it the old way, but we want to use async. So instead, we just like call this thing that will do this for us, and we don't care that it will finish sometime after the creation of the of this whole thing, because we don't care. This will get the article sometime in the future and give it to us.
Yeah, and we'll listen to the stream, and when the articles appear, then we can do
Right.
things with them. But
Right.
until then, I think we have a default.
I wonder if I can do this. Can I? Oh, okay. And so this is the same thing. So await get IDs of that one is news stories. Actually, I can just do wait. I have the stories type here, so I can do await of stories type. I don't need the switch here anymore. See? Because stories type, stories types. Yes. Okay.
Great.
All right, and now to fix the get ID. Where is it? IDs. So you told me that there's a URL at Hacker News.
Yeah. So see, this one is Hacker News item, and so the difference of this one is it's /vo/top stories versus new stories.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah, item, not item, top stories, new stories. .json.
V0 top stories or new stories. Okay, so final
What are you trying to? Like
top
base
or
URL?
new, yeah. Oh yeah, or like part URL is
Yeah, what is it called? Piece. There's a
and
name for that. Can't remember.
time equals stories type top stories, then it's top, right? And otherwise it's new.
Yeah.
This is kind of hacky, but you get the point. So URL and then
.json. It's just.
top
and
stories.
It's new stories. Yeah.
Top stories are new stories, correct?
Yes.
Stories.json.
Yep.
So we have the
And
URL.
if you really wanted, you could take out that chunk of Hacker News Firebase VO
Yeah.
and then make that
Okay, so like a
constant.
static const of base URL is this or this.
Yeah.
This. And now we just do base URL. Okay. And this. About using braces.
You don't need to, because it's just the one.
That's true.
Yep. Great.
Okay. Okay, so we have the URL, and then we get the contents of the URL. So basically this.
Yeah. You need to JSON decode.
Final response is await of HTTP get URL. And then I think we already like we're parsing this in the stories.
Ah, okay.
Oh, what did I do? No.
Undo.
Oh. Okay. So just parse the stories of the string.
Great.
Are we getting the string? No.
Response
The body. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, we'll probably if if response status code does not equal 200, then we probably want to throw our amazing new
Specialized exception.
Yeah,
Hacker News
Hacker
API
News
error.
Yeah. And we say stories couldn't be fetched. Okay. Now we know that status code is 200, so we can
Return.
parse the stories from the string response of body, and that's it.
Return. Yeah.
Cool. So, what do you think?
Yeah. Let's
try it.
see if we get updated stories.
Ooh. Connection failed.
Too many open files.
What? Okay, what? Is there anything? Okay, so we're trying to get like a bunch of articles at once, maybe? Is that?
Oh, are we? Okay, maybe. So this says this returns up to 500. So maybe we want to just limit that to like 10.
Yeah. How do we tell it to get just 10?
Oh, well, I think it'll return all of them, but we just don't have to process them all.
Oh, that's true.
So we could just like get a subset.
Right. So wherever we are doing this, we'll just do.
Oh, how about in parse top stories?
Like this?
Sure.
To list.
Okay, yeah. Does parse top stories make an article? No, it just makes a list. Okay, yep. Great. Woohoo!
Let's see if this is actually a new story, but it should be. Yeah, Bloomberg.
All right.
September. Nice.
Okay, so what we did is we did we updated, so we're not using hard-coded Hacker News stories. We're pulling them live from the Hacker News API. We added, talked a little bit about BLoC, if you have multiple blocks, inputs and outputs. We talked about version controlling with like updating your pubspec. And I feel like there's one more.
No, I think.
No?
I think. Oh, we.
Oh, fixing warnings.
Yes.
Great. Stay tuned for, we're going to work on caching for the Hacker News app next.